Hey guys, it's KevyDog4. Here are the NFL standings and some playoff scenarios with 1 week left in the NFL season. So these are the standings through week 16. So in the AFC East, the Patriots lead. They have clinched the division. They've clinched a playoff berth. They have a first round bye for sure. This week it will be decided whether they are the first or the second seed in the AFC. The Dolphins have also clinched a playoff berth. They will be one of the wild card seeds. Whether they're 5 or 6, that will also be decided this week. Buffalo is in third, and New York is in fourth, the Jets. So New England's 13-2. Miami is 10-5. Buffalo 7-8. Jets 4-11. So 2 playoff teams in the AFC East. The AFC West has Oakland and Kansas City that are for sure in the playoffs. I don't know which one will end up being the division champion. That will also be decided this week. Oakland's 12-3 and Kansas City is 11-4. They're 1 game apart. The division winner is likely going to have a first round bye. Actually, definitely going to have a first round bye. New England will be 1, and the division winner here will be the second one, and the second place in the AFC West will be the other wild card with Miami. So the AFC North, Pittsburgh's got the wild card, 10-5. Baltimore's 8-7. Cincinnati's 5-9-1, and Cleveland's 1-14. And by the way, Denver is 8-7 and San Diego's 5-10 in the AFC West. So Cleveland, they are likely going to be the team with the first draft pick next year. They are, if they lose this week, they have it for sure. If they beat the Steelers this week, then, and if the Niners lose, then they have a shot at having the second draft pick instead, but it's highly likely that the Browns will for sure have the number 1 draft pick after this week. So in the AFC South, Houston is the division winner. They're 9-6. They're the only playoff team from the South. Pittsburgh's the only one from the North. Tennessee's 8-7. Indianapolis 7-8, and Jacksonville 3-12. They'll also be very far down, or they'll be high up in the lottery, the draft, the NFL draft, but low in the standings, obviously. So I broke down the AFC scenarios the best that I could. I was unable to get to the NFC. I ran out of time, but here are some potential playoff scenarios. So I'll start with the Patriots because AFC East, they already have the bye. They already have the division. They have a playoff berth, obviously, so they're going to be either a 1 or a 2 seed. I figured out that they can clinch that number 1 seed with a win or a tie this week, or Oakland's loss or tie, considering that they're a 1 game apart. And for anything to change, and for New England to get the number 2 seed, New England would have to lose, and Oakland would have to win without Derek Carr. So to me, I think that New England's going to have this number 1 spot locked up for sure after this week. Either way, I think New England's going to be able to beat Miami. I don't know what will happen with Oakland. I don't know how McGloin's going to do against Denver, but we'll see about that. Miami, just going down the list, wild card team for sure, number 5 or number 6. They can clinch that number 5 seed with a win and Kansas City's loss. I have discovered that. And if they either lose or tie against New England, which is highly likely, or Kansas City wins or ties, which is also highly likely, they'll be number 6. So to me, Miami's probably going to end up being the number 6 seed and will have to play the number 3 seed in the playoffs. Oakland, let's just go down to the West here. Oakland, they can clinch a 1, 2, or 5 seed. They have a playoff spot already. They can clinch number 1 with a win and New England's loss. So two scenarios here necessary for number 1. They can get number 2 with New England's win or tie and Oakland their win or tie, or New England's win or tie and Kansas City's loss or tie. So this is what I've discovered by looking at the standings and going through the tie-breaking scenarios. So hopefully they're all correct, because I tried to break them down further than what I'm finding online. So the NFC, I won't have everything, but we'll see. Number 5, they can clinch the number 5 seed with a loss and a Kansas City win. So we'll see what happens. I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen with Oakland. I don't think that they're going to get the number 1 seed, because New England's probably going to win. So I think that New England's got number 1, but number 2, one of the necessary things there would be New England's win or tie in either case. So that's probably going to happen. And if Oakland beats Denver, they get number 2, or if Kansas City loses. So the most likely thing would be for Oakland to win or tie, and New England to win or tie, and that would give them the number 2 seed. And if that doesn't happen, the wild card, if Oakland loses and Kansas City wins, that's also a possibility. So I see them at either 2 or 5, depending on how the Raiders are able to do without Derek Carr this week. Chiefs, right down the list here. They can clinch the number 2 seed with a win in Oakland's loss, so I just mentioned that. They can clinch the number 5 with Oakland's win or tie against Denver, and Miami's loss or tie, which that's likely. So Oakland winning or tying is the only thing that could be iffy there. Or the Kansas City loss or tie, which is not likely, and Miami's loss or tie. So those two scenarios could happen. Wild card number 6, they could clinch the number 6 seed with a loss and Miami's win, which is really highly unlikely considering Kansas City is playing San Diego and Miami is playing New England. So I think that they're going to either be a 2 or a 5. Really, the only thing is how Oakland's going to do without Derek Carr. So Pittsburgh, they have clinched the AFC North, obviously. I have heard that they have clinched the number 3 seed. I'm not sure if that is true, but I tried to figure it out. But the tiebreaker, if the scenarios end up coming into play next week, which they probably won't, if there ends up being a tie, it would be down to strength of victory that would determine who gets the 3 and 4 seed. So I got sort of to that point, but I never ended up finishing figuring out the tiebreaker. But as far as I narrowed it down, it would be between Houston and Pittsburgh for the 3 and 4 seed. If it has already been decided for sure that Pittsburgh will be number 3, then that would put Houston at number 4. But what would happen is all Pittsburgh needs to get that number 3 seed 100% for sure is a win or a tie, or Houston's loss or tie, or a loss and a Houston win with a strength of victory tiebreaker. So they could still clinch it as long as the strength of victory tiebreaker goes their way. And they would get number 4 if they lost and Houston won, and the strength of victory tiebreaker put Houston ahead. So I don't know if that's for sure or if they have already been determined as number 3 and 4 seeds. But the way I see it after this week is New England 1, and the AFC West winner, number 2, number 3 Pittsburgh, number 4 Houston, number 5 the AFC West second place, and number 6 Miami. So that's where I see things after this week. NFC, let's take a look at the NFC. Dallas in the East obviously has everything locked up there. The number 1 seed, first round bye, everything going their way. 13-2. If they win this week, they'll have the best record in the NFL. Or they could be tied with New England, depending on what happens with them as well. Yeah, they've got the same record. So, Giants are in second. They are going to be a wild card team, almost positively. Actually, I think I put this in here. Did I edit this? Yeah, I edited it, but I can't remember. The Giants already clinched their playoff spot, but I didn't add it in there. So what I have is these two teams still have not clinched. Neither has Tampa Bay or Washington. I just need to add an X there for New York. They will for sure be in. Washington's fighting for their lives this week. They're 8-6-1. If they lose this week, they're out. If they win, I think that they're in. And that would mean that the loser of Detroit versus Green Bay is out of this. So Philadelphia's in last year, 6-9, but there could possibly be 3 teams from the NFC East in the playoffs this year. NFC West, Seattle's going to be the only team in. They're 9-5-1. Arizona 6-8-1. Los Angeles 4-11, and San Francisco 2-13. So only one team in that entire division is going to finish above 500, which is crazy. NFC North, Detroit and Green Bay are tied. The winner of the game this weekend will determine the division winner. And as long as Washington loses, it's 100% possible that both these teams are going to be in. Minnesota out of this 7-8. They can finish right at 500. Chicago's 3-12. NFC South, Atlanta's got this division. They're going for the first round bye this week. They're 10-5. Tampa Bay, they're still technically in it, but they need lots of different scenarios to get in this. I've heard that they even need, 100% need a tie between the Giants and Redskins to get in. So to me, they're totally out of this because there's almost no way that there's going to be a tie between the Giants and Redskins this week. And then the Saints and Panthers are both out of this. So let's see what I can figure out with these tiebreakers here. So I do know for sure Dallas, number 1 seed. Giants, they've got a spot for sure, and it's going to be a wild card spot. They're 10-5. Green Bay and Detroit are both 9-6. So one of those two teams is going to lose, and that would put them at 9-7. And if it happens to be that they end up clinching, then that would mean a 9-7 team would be at the wild card, and if not, if Washington ended up winning, they would be 9-6-1. So no matter what, even if the Giants lose this week, I think they should have this number 5 spot no matter what, because their record completely prevents them from falling any further down. So Dallas is number 1, and the Giants are for sure number 5. So Washington, Detroit, and Green Bay, any of those 3 teams, and Tampa Bay could end up being the number 6 team in the playoffs. Washington, let's see. Oops, trying to open this. It keeps opening something else, but I'm not sure. There's really not a whole lot of a chance. I think they can make it. Washington. I'm just gonna go without this. It's not gonna work. But they're 8-6-1. So what would have to happen is for sure one of these two teams in the NFC North is going to be 9-7, and if Tampa Bay wins, they will be 9-7. So there will be 2 teams that will be 9-7 that are fighting for this wild card spot. And if Washington wins, they will be 9-6-1, which is like winning 9.5 games and losing 6.5 games, which would put them ahead of both of those wild card teams and put them in the playoffs. But if they lose, they're done, and they're playing the Giants. So to me, I think Washington will not end up making the playoffs this year. Seattle, they're in. They are 9-5-1. Let's see. I don't know if they can still get a first round bye. They can. So currently the team with the first round bye is Atlanta. They're 10-5. If Seattle wins, they'll be 10-5-1. And if Atlanta loses, they'll be 10-6. So that would put Seattle ahead of Atlanta. So if Seattle wins and if Atlanta loses, then that should give Seattle the first round bye. And I don't know what happens with tiebreakers, but if Seattle or if Atlanta were to somehow tie today, I think that would also give Seattle a shot at the first round bye, assuming the tiebreaker went their way, but I'm not sure if that's the case. So for sure, a win from Seattle and a loss from Atlanta against New Orleans would give the first round bye to Seattle instead of Atlanta. But to me, looking at this, I think that Atlanta is going to win this last game, and I think that Atlanta, however crazy it may be, because it was really quiet, I think they're going to have this first round bye for sure. And Seattle will probably end up being number 3. However, the winner of the Detroit and Green Bay game is going to be the division winner, and if Seattle were to lose, they could go down to number 4. So we'll see what happens there, but if Seattle wins, they're for sure going to be number 3 or higher, and then it will all depend on how Atlanta does against New Orleans. Okay, so let's go to the North. So the big game this week is Lions-Packers. Obviously, it's for the division. Winner will be 10-6. Loser will be 9-7. And the loser is likely going to be the last wild card team, considering that Washington needs a win against New York. So to me, this is not a possibility. And then Tampa Bay needs so many things to go their way to get in this, and I don't think it's going to happen. They need a tie between the Giants and Redskins. That's all I know. The online thing isn't popping up for me right now, so I'm just going to go with it. But for sure, there's lots of ties, or there's lots of games that need to go their way. I've heard that there are as many as like 5 games that need to go their way because of all the tie-breaking things that would have to go on between the loser of this game and Tampa Bay if they were to win this week. And so it all comes down to this game really for everybody. If this doesn't result in a tie, Tampa Bay is automatically out. If this results in a Giants win, both of these teams are in. The winner will end up being one of the either 3 or 4 seeds. Or I guess that they could be a number 2 seed, but once again, tiebreakers come into play. I don't know how they play out. If Detroit or Green Bay, whichever one wins, they could be anywhere between 2 and 4. And that will be determined probably fairly early by earlier games. And then the loser will be 9-7, and they will be the 6th seed for sure. So, big game for these teams. We'll see what happens there. NFC South, Atlanta is the division winner, and I think I already explained really what's going on with them when I was talking about Seattle's chances at a first round bye. A win from Atlanta gives them the first round bye. A loss could take them out of it, but if Seattle loses as well, they're okay. But a tie from Atlanta would put the tie-breaking scenario into play, but for sure Atlanta's going to be either a 2 or a 3 seed. Actually, if you look at Detroit and Green Bay, they could end up with the same record, the winner of that division. So anywhere between 2 and 4 is where Atlanta's going to land as well. So the AFC is really pretty much locked up already, and it's pretty obvious where most teams are going to land. NFC, things can really go crazy depending on what happens in this last week, so we'll see what happens. So thanks for watching this video. Make sure you give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment below. What are your predictions? Who do you think's going to go, or who's going to land in what seed for the playoffs? Make sure you subscribe to my channel for more sports videos, and I'll see you in my next video.